Good God Saturday to you. How are you doing? I pray God's blessings on you today. Just a beautiful day in the neighborhood, isn't it? A beautiful day. All right, well, this is Seniors Navigating the Change, and I tell you, so many things I have been going through life all these years. And seemed like I just went to the change and went through the change without much thought. It was just happening. But I'm gonna tell you, these senior years, you have to know some things or you will mess up or you will be sorry in the end. uh, you need to know some things. And so we are navigating the change. Just last week, remember my husband and I, we were talking about one change is we were being gardeners and then we ended up with critters and things like that. Anyway, so that was last week. I've got a friend this week. I've got a friend on and she's going to help us navigate the change because before she started doing what she does, I heard about it, but I didn't think about it. I had heard about it. So let me bring my friend on. This is Miss Angela Susberry. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Wonderful.
I'm so glad to have you here.
I'm
So
so glad
glad to
to
have you
be here.
here.
I'm so glad.
I have to tell you all about my friend. I met her, we were thinking about it, talking about it maybe 13 years ago.
hmm
And it wasn't a happy time in her life.
hmm
And she wore it on her face.
hmm
She wore it on her face. It was, it just wasn't happy. And she would come to church and I would say, oh Lord, what's wrong with this lady? What's wrong with her? Oh, help her, God, help her, God. And she would come. She would still come. She would still come. And then I found out that her daughter was in the hospital and she was not well. And I can't really go into everything that she can tell you about. But anyway, she wasn't well. And then it got worse because she passed. And Angela would come to church, come to church. And how were you during that time? Tell us how you were.
I was broken. I was lost. I was basically devastated. But I knew the house of God was the only place that was going to give me healing. And although I came in, my mind didn't remember the words, the songs, the scriptures, the people. I felt the love. I couldn't retain actually what was going on around me. But I tell everybody now, get to the house because every time I went, my spirit was getting fed. And I didn't realize it until I started healing that all of that was super beneficial to me. And as part of my ministry now, Keisha is a part of my life every single day. I miss her tremendously, but I took that pain and I mean, it's a cliche, but it's very true. I took that pain and used it for purpose in what I do professionally and the ministry that I have. So I just tell everyone get to the house. If you don't have a relationship with God, get a relationship with God. If you have one, it will be necessary to walk through grief because it's a life journey. And I do grief work for the funeral home I work for as well and for my church. And
Not just for your church. You do grief work for people. And if they need to walk through it, if they contact you,
mhm,
they can go through the process with you because I had a friend and she was really bad. And
mhm,
just the time or the couple of times, I think it was one time, but it made such an impact on her life.
mhm.
She still talks about it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a journey, and I think once I realized it would be a journey I'd be on forever, that took some of the boulders off of my shoulder. But it's been Amazing, amazing what God. I asked him, I said, if you take me out of this pit and this tumult that I was definitely in after walking her through that illness for 7 years and then losing her, I said, if you take me out, I promise to serve you in whatever capacity you give me. And he has definitely given me the capacity to work with our people. And it's been a
Yes.
joy. It's been a joy.
Now, what do you do? It's October. And so, what do you do in October?
Every October, we have a walk team that walks in Keisha's honor. It's through the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And for 13 years, we've had a team. We have a walk at night. It's called Light the Night. And we have a team for Keisha. We usually have about 20, 25 walkers, and they have thousands of people that walk this walk every year.
Thousands.
Yeah, thousands. It's huge. And we started Soldier Field parking lot, and we walk through the museum campus. We used to walk on the lakefront, but the weather would kind of get, iffy, so they decided to keep it at Soldier Field. So we do that. And that walk is connected to our foundation that we started for Keisha. Instead of in lieu of flowers, we asked for donations. And so for 13 years, we've been giving out scholarships to students that had the same passion that Keisha had. Probably about $40,000-$50,000 in scholarships that we've given through her foundation. So
That
we
is
keep
very
her
nice.
name alive. Everybody that knows me knows Keisha. I still hear her talking to me, Ma, I know you are not wearing that today. Could you please fix your hair? You change your clothes. So her spirit is, I would, and I tell the grief work that I do, I always tell the participants, I really would rather not be doing this with you guys. I really would rather have my child with me. But I always tell people we don't get to pick our testimonies. We just have to walk them out with the help of the Lord. And that's what he's done for me. So it's truly been a blessing to do the work that I.
Amen. Well, you've been a blessing to the I would say the body of Christ, but it even bigger than that. It's bigger than that. You've been a blessing to people. And just thinking about that. Okay, so remember I told you she was just looking sad, sad, sad. And then she would come to the church and and finally I could see her smiling a little bit. And she got busy in ministry and then somebody caught her eye.
After 2 years, how could you not really see somebody for 2 years? But after 2 years,
He was there all the time.
they're
He
the
was
whole
there
time.
all of the time.
But when the
And
blinders came off, I said, who is he?
she was asked, "Who is this?"
Is he available? Is he nice? Is he? I could see that he was nice because he did so much work in the church. And what really drew me to this particular brother was the patience that he had with his mom. His mom was suffering with Alzheimer's, and he used to sit her in front of me on Wednesday nights, and he was so patient with her and loving. And I said, wow, he's amazing. So when my healing came, my eyes were opened, and I had a friend do some investigating, and she found out he was single,
And it
and
wasn't me, guys. It wasn't me, guys.
it was another
But
in the
but
church.
I know the friend, and she was telling me what was happening.
And she was very aggressive. She found out, and then she wanted to make dinner that night for us. I thought, oh wait, you're moving a little bit too fast. Let's see if he's interested first. But long story short, he was interested, and a couple years later, I became Mrs. Leonard Susberry, and it has been a phenomenal, phenomenal time in my life. We are blended with six children, six adult children, and four grandbabies now. So
She is Gigi. She
yes.
is the epitome of Gigi. Oh my gosh.
Well,
She
he decided his grandpa name would be Oprah. He searched and searched and searched while the baby was still in our daughter's womb. And he said, I figured it out. I want to be Oprah. I said, Oprah, where did you get that from? He said, and the equivalent or the surname for grandma related to Oprah is Oma. I said, I will not be called Oma. That sounds. Mm-mm. So I gave my. So we are so opposite. He's Oprah and I'm Gigi. And I'll tell you, the kids wear it out. They wear it out. But
You
it's,
like them wearing it out.
yeah, so much so that we are having a baby doll, not person. We're having a baby doll birthday party tomorrow for one of the grandbabies. Doll. Is that amazing? Who would
Who's
do that?
giving this party?
Me and her
Gigi.
mama. Yeah, Gigi.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's
Yes.
six
But
little
okay, I
girls.
just want to say this again. When I met her, she was just she even looked dark. She had a dark look on her.
Mhm.
But since things changed, I told her, I said, "Girl, you look like sunshine. You look like sunshine." And she took that. She bosomed that. And now what do you say?
That's my nickname, Sunshine. And I wear, every time I wear yellow, I think of Karen and the name she gave me. And that's my favorite. That became my favorite color too. I never had one, but it definitely is yellow. I had to change my office. I actually colored my office, painted it yellow. It was so bright. But when we moved into a different place, I didn't do that. But all my decor is yellow. I got yellow Converse, yellow, yellow, yellow.
She she is just sunshine to me. I love me some Angela. Okay, so from grief with your daughter and were you in were you employed?
I was
Um,
employed. I was working with my dad. My dad was the co-founder of Island Furs Furrier, the full-service furrier, the only African American owned and operated fur salon, probably one of two in the United States. So I was working with him, and I decided I need to do something in addition to that. So I went to part time, and I have had an insurance license for 20 years. I used to work for Allstate, and then so I kept my license. And a pastor friend of mine, approached me, and he said, "I'm going to work at a funeral home, and our advanced planners have to be licensed with the life insurance license, and I think you'd be great at this." I was like, "What? I don't want to do that." And he said, "You'll be so good." So he actually interviewed, and I interviewed with the owner of the funeral home, was hired and about to start on Monday. And that Friday, the Holy Spirit woke me up and said, "You need to check out Callahan," because Callahan serviced us for Keisha. And so I did. I was obedient and I called Callahan. I spoke to Mrs. Callahan and she said, "Well, why don't you come in?" We talked. I talked to Mr. Callahan. I talked to their son who was over the department at that time, Edric. And in a day or two, they offered me the position at Callahan. So I never went to the other funeral home. I went to Callahan.
I didn't know that.
Uh-huh. And I've been with them 11 years. And I'm so glad that I was obedient to the Holy Spirit and said, go to Callahan. And I'm glad they received me. And it's been a blessing the entire 11 years that I've been with them. Such a blessing.
Yes, I have never seen or heard you complain. Oh, I have to go here. Oh, I have to. She is busy and oh, she is busy about her ministry.
Well, Karen, I thought about this the other day, and when God can take your pain, your passion, your what did I say? I said your pain, your passion, your purpose, and your profession, and put it all in one. It's never dragging to me to get up. Sometimes I see clients on Sundays after church. Sometimes I see them on Saturday. And I know a lot of people that have 9 to 5s on Sunday. They even have a couple NyQuil commercials. This lady was saying her husband couldn't sleep on Sunday nights, and they had it kind of invertedly in there. And I know Sunday nights for people that work 9 to 5, sometimes they're like, oh, I got to go to work tomorrow. And they kind of get this heavy feeling. I never get that. I'm ready every day of the week to do what I do. And it's just been a life changing time for me. So I love it.
Amen. Okay, and so what do you do now?
So my position at advanced planning specialist, I help families prepare for their final party. It's, you're going away, and your celebration of your life should be about you. But we need to be prepared, and I help families put all those pieces together so that they are leaving peace with their family versus chaos. When I sit with families, I talk about, what do you want your service to look like? What kind of service do you want? What kind of interment do you want? Do you want to get buried? Do you want to get cremated? What kind of casket do you want? Do you want a service? Who do you want to preach? Who do you want to sing? Who do you want to be your pallbearers? You can't imagine, it's about 100 decisions that have to be made. And if you can help your family by making a lot of those decisions ahead of time, it is so much easier. We see the families that come in that haven't had any conversation about it, and then the families that come in that have planned it out, and it's like night and day. Because we all
Hmm.
going. When I do my seminars, I ask them, do you see any 120-year-old people walking around? No. So it's 100% chance that all of us are going to need a funeral home and need to have a necessary conversation with our families before we leave. And people are very intentional about what's going to happen with their possessions. They put things in trust, they have wills, but they don't want to talk about what's going to happen with them. And we see so many families torn apart because they didn't have a conversation on what are we going to do, how mom's service is going to go, how does, she want her service. And mom can't be the referee or the one putting out the fire. She's going to be gone. And we see a lot of families that are broken up because somebody didn't do a funeral correct. I bet everybody that's listening to me knows somebody whose family had chaos at a funeral or after the funeral about money, or you didn't put my child's name in the obituary, and a lot of things. Outside children show up, estranged wives show up. I mean, I got a trillion stories, a trillion, and I tell a lot of them at my seminars, and I get a lot of this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can avoid all of that just by having a conversation with a professional on what it's going to look like and how can I put those pieces together in advance. And that's my position.
Yes, and that's not a morbid thought. I always say, we were born and we're going to die. My dad says he is 93. He's going to be 94 next month.
Wow,
And
awesome.
he always said, we'll say, Dad, so and so died. Well, everybody's got a day.
Absolutely.
Everybody's got a day. And then he'll
Absolutely.
say, I'm surprised I'm still here. He lets you know everybody's got a day. And surely as you're born, you are going to pass. And
Exactly.
so it's not morbid to plan your what you want to happen as you transition or after you transition.
It's morbid not to do it, Karen, because we know we're gonna go, and to leave that
Mm-hmm.
burden is really a burden when you leave it on your family. Sometimes I hear me, I don't care, they could just throw me in the backyard. First of all, that's illegal. Secondly, it's disrespectful, and your family's not gonna throw you in the backyard. So, and actually, before I became advanced planner, my mother was at Evergreen Mall, and the Callahans hosted a movie, and then after that they talked to all the seniors about, getting prepared. And my mother came in, she did her plan, she paid for it, she brought this red folder home and threw it on the table and told me, I planned my funeral, Angie, and I paid for it. I said, are you serious? Who does that? And she did it. And lo and behold, 2 years later, I'm working for the firm and helping seniors do it. And we have not talked about it anymore. We know it's done. Hers is planned, my dad, my sister, mine, Lynn, all of us are planned. The folders are put away. We know it's done, and we don't talk about it. My mother turned 90 in May. I had to take her keys because she's a busybody. She still want to go out and about. And my dad will be 91. Well, he is 91. He turned 91 in June. And I tell you, they live in their home. They do everything for themselves. But we know that their arrangements are done. Their wishes are documented. And we're going to follow through. My mother's a red hatter. She wants
Yes,
a,
she
she
is.
wants a red casket, girl. So that's on her plan, a red casket.
Well, all right, ma'am.
That's what I
Uh,
said.
All right. Um, well, let's just give people the information just in case they want to get in contact with you. Um, they'll know how to reach out to you so they can pre-plan their funeral and what happens after that. Now, actually, because I see here you says how does it work?
Hmm.
What do you do?
So I start by sitting down with the individual. Sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's a family. Last Sunday after church, I went to the home of a family, and it was five brothers and sisters. One of the nieces was the contact, and we sat around the dining room table, and I explained to them how pre-planning works. I told them first we document your wishes, vital statistic information. You'd be surprised. Some people don't even know their grandparents' real name. I'll say, well, what is your grandmother's name? Well, we call her Medea. I never remembered her real name. So we get all of that real information from the client, where their parents were born. So everything that's on your death certificate, on your birth certificate, is duplicated on your death certificate. Your parents' names, where they were born. So we get all of that vital statistic information. From there, we get the preferences. Do you have favorite flowers? Do you have favorite song, favorite color? Um, do you want to have a burial? Do you want to have a cremation? Do you want a church service? Do you want it at the funeral home? We document all of that. Then the big piece, Karen, we go into the quoting. We actually quote out item by item what you want your service to include. There are certain things you have to have. If you're going to be seen, you have to be embalmed. You have to get picked up, a hearse, all of those things that are required, we document. Then the preferences are what kind of casket you want, how many flowers. We document all of that. And then when that second piece is done, we actually have a quote for today's price on what your funeral would cost. And some people are very shocked. They think funerals are 20,000, or they think funerals are 5,000, and it's actually in between. But it's your decisions that make up your total. And once we have that quote, we go to the third piece where you can actually fund your funeral in advance. And that's super important. People don't realize that you can actually pay for your funeral in advance. And imagine your family sitting down, your funeral is planned out, and your funeral is paid for. And we have payment options. You don't have to pay the funeral in full. You can pay it over time. We don't stretch it out longer than 10 years. And then your family, you pay for your funeral, and 20 years from now when you pass away, your funeral is still paid for. They don't have to pay the increased costs. And talk about leaving a legacy of peace. Then your family can celebrate you. They're not trying to figure out the money piece. They're not trying to figure out your preferences. It's all done. And those are the people that grieve more effectively than those that don't go through that process. And when I tell you, it's definitely a blessing to me when since I've been doing it 11 years, I'm getting families that come in where I may have sat with mom 6 years ago. And when they come to the at-need side, mom has passed away. They're making the final arrangements. They'll see if I'm in the building. And when I come up, they just fall into my arms with gratitude and thanking me that I followed through with helping mom with her wishes. And it's just such a blessing to see that happen. Just such a blessing.
Okay, now there are some family examples that you were talking about. The one where they thought the mom had this insurance.
Yes. Yes. So um, I have a family that came in, and mom had $200,000 worth of insurance on paper. So they came in with three policies. They're planning this funeral. I don't know how many people watching have seen The Imitation of Life, but that's the kind of funeral they want to plan for their mom. They're planning a cruise for
Oh,
themselves because, of course, mom wanted them to go on a cruise. They hadn't even got to the funeral home yet, and two sisters. And they were they called to see if we did a dove release. I said, yes, we do a dove release. Do you have a horse and carriage at Callahan? Well, we can get that for you. So they're planning this fabulous, wonderful funeral. So when the clients come to the funeral home with policies, we have to verify the policies. So the first policy was a $50,000 20-year term that mom had taken out when she was 40. She passed
term.
when she was 80. So 20 years after 40 would have been 60. That policy expired, and that $50,000 value was zero because the term policy, she had outlived the term.
Hmm.
So they went from 200 down to 150. So they did take the doves off at that point. So we continued on and we went to the next policy, which was a $100,000 group policy with her job. Now, she was on her job about 30 years, but when she retired 20 years ago, guess what? She's not in the group
The
anymore.
policy retired.
Policy retired with her. So now instead of 150,000, they're down to 50,000. So they took the horse and carriage off. They took the cruise off, thinking about, well, we better just, thank goodness we have this last policy, which was a $50,000 whole life policy that she had taken out years ago. It built some cash value. When the grandson got ready to go to college, she borrowed. A lot of you hear people say a lot of times they're going to borrow off their life insurance, which is not a good practice, but we do it. And she borrowed the $7,000 cash value off of her $50,000 policy so that Junior could have, money needed for college. She never paid it back. And when she got dementia and stopped paying the premium over 2 years, the policy lapsed. People know what lapse means is canceled, gone away, non existent anymore. So even though the policy lapsed, she would have gotten the $7,000 they would have held on to the cash value, but she used that to pay for the grandson's college bill. So they used the $7,000 cash value when the policy lapsed to pay off her loan. So that policy value is zero. So they went from $200,000 in life insurance to zero. So now, instead of planning this imitation of life funeral for a mom, they don't even have a clue how they're going to do the basics for mom's funeral service. So they had to beg, borrow, and steal to get just enough money to do a cremation with a memorial service. So it's really important that we understand. And like I said, I've had my insurance license for 20 years. There's all kinds of insurance products out there. There's term insurance and whole life insurance and variable insurance, a lot of different insurance policies out there. But people need to understand what they have. Sit down with a professional and say, these are my policies and what's going to happen. And after I tell them, when I look at the policies, I say, call your insurance company and be specific and ask them, how long is this policy going to last? How much money do I have built into it? Because a lot of people don't read. And when they get to the time when it's the death benefit is due, they don't understand, well, why don't I have enough? Or why is this policy zero? Or why is my premium going up? Because they don't understand. So simply, I tell people the basic two types of insurance are term and whole life. There's some other variable ones out there, but those are the two main categories. And term is renting. It does not build any cash value, and it's going to end at some point. Most of them are 20 years. So if you're 40 and you only have a term policy, when you turn 60, that policy is going to end. Now,
Right.
instead of 40, you're going to be 60. You may have high blood pressure. You may have cholesterol issues. You may have had a cancer scare. They're going to rate you for all of that when you try to get another policy. So that's term. It's only for a certain number of years. If you die within the term, your family gets the death benefit. If you outlive the term, not only does the death benefit go away, but all the premiums go away. You don't get any money back off term. It does not build cash value. And it's very cheap. So a lot of our people have term insurance and they go around with this, I like to say, this cozy feeling that they have insurance, and they tell their kids, well, I have $100,000 policy, so you guys should be enough. They don't tell them they're paying $20, $30 a month because it's term. And when it ends, there's no death benefit. So I tell
Yes,
people,
if you don't pass within the term,
yes,
then you don't get any money. And the insurance company hopes you outlive the term,
they want you to keep living.
so
They
they
want
don't
you to
have
keep
to pay
living.
that.
And you keep paying. It's a reason why Allstate CEOs, not so much the CEOs, but their stockholders, they make a lot of money because people outlive the term and they don't have to pay out anything at all.
Nothing.
Nothing. Paying 20, 30, 40 years on this policy, or they try to get you to get another policy after that one ends, and they keep you in this cycle, and then when your family goes, there's no money. So that's term. Whole life is definitely different. It builds cash value. It's the premiums are more, but you got to pay on it as long as you're living. I have families that come in, mom's 80 years old, she's still paying that premium every month. And the death benefit's not going to change. I had a lady that had a $15,000 whole life policy that she had been paying on for 50 years.
Mm.
$15,000 she had been paying on for 50 years. She had paid in about $80,000. What's the death benefit? It's still 15,000.
15,000.
And they were like, that's illegal. No, it's not. That's insurance. So with those two options, I tell people the best thing to do, which we didn't always know about, is to pay for your funeral in advance. And we do use an insurance policy, Karen, but it's a pre-funded policy, or you can call it a burial policy, funeral policy, final expense policy, but it's just for your funeral. When it's
Hmm.
paid, it's locked in, it's guaranteed. And you can have other insurance and you'll know. I told one lady, she planned her funeral, she paid for it. She had $100,000 life insurance policy. She said, with this, I'm going to give 50 to one grandchild and 50 to the other. And she knows that's going to happen because no money has to come out of that policy for her funeral. It's already paid for.
Now, you just said something I did not know. So there is a burial insurance.
Burial insurance
Now,
that you
is this just connected to the pre-planning?
it's money set aside for your funeral. Money set aside specifically for your funeral. And we get involved because we do the planning of it and we funded with an insurance company. So back in the day, people used to pay funeral homes for their funerals ahead of time. Mama would go to Jones Funeral Home in Alabama, grandma, every month and get them $20, $100. And they kept a tally of her funeral. But what would happen when grandma would pass away, they would tally up what she paid in, and whatever the difference was, the family would have to pay that. That's a downfall for that. The second downfall is if Jones Funeral Home goes out of business, where's grandma's money going? Out of,
Out of business.
out of business as well. And we've had that happen to a couple funeral homes here in Chicago. I don't want to name them, but we had seniors that lost all of their money they had pre-funded their funerals with because the funeral home, it was under the coffers or under the umbrella of the funeral home. So what we do at Callahan years ago, we use a funding instrument and insurance policy with our third party company. Our insurance company holds that money for the client. So if they pay in full or they pay over time, they pay our insurance company. So we are out of the money altogether until time of passing. Then they return that money to us. And it's also wonderful that because we use an insurance instrument, if the family is in a prepayment or pay over time policy, where let's say somebody's going to pay for their funeral over 10 years and they get to year 3 and they pass away, the insurance company is going to make us whole for the entire funeral, and the family does not have to pay the balance. So that's the benefit of doing the funding with an insurance company. And our insurance company has been in business over 100 years, and that's what they do. They don't do cars, they don't do houses, they do funerals. And so that guarantees that the family is going to be taken care of and that the funeral home is going to be taken care of. We make sure that all of the wishes are fulfilled and the money is there for the client. So doing it ahead of time, you have the arrangements done, the financing or the funding can be done, and the family can start that grief cycle in peace rather than chaos. So
Wow, that's very good to know. Um,
let me say this too, Karen, about insurance. Any insurance policy that you take out, you have to have a beneficiary. Life insurance, when I went through my training to get my license, life insurance is a chunk of money that you're going to give to a person. We don't, when we used to do, we call it needs analysis. What's your mortgage? How many children do you have? What's your job? That would determine what we would suggest the amount of life insurance you get. We never ask a client what kind of funeral you're going to have, because that's not what life insurance is for. It's a chunk of money that you're going to give to those people that you're going to leave behind so they can continue on financially. The beneficiary on your life insurance does not have to pay for your funeral. And we run into that a lot at the funeral.
wow.
The beneficiary can take that money. Insurance company's not going to ask them what they're going to do with it or make sure the funeral is paid. If you put Jimmy down, your one son, and you got 3 daughters, but you love Jimmy and you want to make him the beneficiary of your life insurance, and Jimmy is incarcerated and you forgot to change it 20 years ago when he went into prison, and he's still the beneficiary, guess what? He has to sign off on that policy to be used for the funeral. And more than likely, he's going to hold on to it till he thinks or he knows he's going to get out. And now the family has to come up with the money. It happens all the time. The beneficiary does not have to use the life insurance for the funeral. We run into that problem
Yes.
or that situation many times at the funeral home. And the next of kin, this is also important. The next of kin and the beneficiary sometimes are not the same person. The wife could
Yes.
be the next of kin, but maybe the husband put his brother down as the beneficiary on his life insurance. So now she doesn't have any, she got the power, but she don't have any money. And he has the money, but he doesn't have the power.
And here
So
comes the fight.
chaos.
court cases and all of that.
And I'm
Yeah.
so glad that we go by the law. We don't have to get in there and figure out the family dynamics. We just tell them next to kin is spouse, adult children, adult grandchildren, brothers and sisters. So you can't make your sister in charge of your funeral if you're married. Your husband has to be the one that's in charge. So,
Even now that you say that, even with a will,
well, you don't put your funeral arrangements in your will because in most cases, when is the will
that's
read or
true.
opened
That's the
up?
will comes
Will
after.
can be contested. So if in doubt, you can do a power of attorney in your health power of attorney
Right.
and make the person you want to be in charge of your funeral. But it has to end at interment. So power of attorneys are the definition of a power of attorney is a person taking care of your affairs. You're still here, but you're not cognitive enough to make your own
Make
decisions. So you make
decisions.
a person, an agent, they call them, your power of attorney to make your decisions. Well, when you pass away, there's no you anymore, so no decisions to be made. But in that power of attorney, if you make the agent's duties end at interment, that's whether you're going to get buried or whether you get cremated, they have the power to follow through with your wishes. And then after that, their duties would end. So that's really important. And it is in your health, it's not in the finance power of attorney, it's in your health. So if you have any doubt that your family, your immediate family, your next of kin is going to follow through with your wishes, you can do it in your power of attorney, which would go into effect before the funeral and allow that agent to take care of all the arrangements. Your will, Aretha Franklin, I don't even think she had it in her will. She had it on a piece of paper in her couch drawer.
Yes.
So they didn't know. But your wills can be contested. So
Yes.
wills and trusts are for your possessions. Everybody should talk to a professional about what they want their final arrangements to look like and take care of that separate from your will and your trust.
Okay. Very good information. Very good information. I learned so much. I guess I'll be calling 773 You know, I've been thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. And I don't think about anybody else but you, but I don't do anything about it. You
Uh-huh.
know, thinking about it does not pay the bills.
No, no.
We've got to be about it. So this is very good information. Very good information. And again, it's not morbid. It is very smart. It's very smart. It should give you, as the individual, peace of mind, and then it should give your family peace of mind. This is something we don't have to worry about.
And
Mama,
even a
grandma, who.
simple thing, Karen, about knowing who's gonna take care of you or who's gonna bring you into their care. If you're at the hospital and your loved one passes away, they'll get a family a few minutes to talk and call this sister to come and say goodbye to mom. And then later, not even much later, maybe an hour or so, the hospital's going to come back in and they're going to say, who are we calling to pick your mom up, your loved one? And if the family doesn't have an answer, the hospital will send mom to the morgue in the hospital. In a day or two, if the family's still going back and forth, they don't know what they're going to do, they're going to take mom to the county morgue. And you don't want your loved one to have to stay too long in a county morgue. So it's important just to know in advance who's going to be our funeral home of choice. And that's a very important question to have answered in advance. I had a gentleman. He came in. He sat with me for his brother. His brother was in the hospital. We planned everything out. I told him how much it was, and he said, "Well, I'm not ready, Miss Susberry. We're gonna think about it." And I said, "Okay." 2 years later, he came and called the funeral home. He called me on my cell, and he said, "Miss Susberry, we're ready to do that plan for my brother. How much is it gonna be a month?" I said, "Well, first of all, your brother, he's still in the hospital. How he doing? He said, oh no, he there with y'all. He at the funeral. I said, Mr. Moore, Mr. Moore. First of
Wait,
all,
wait, wait. Are you talking about the man who had passed?
yes. I said, no, you cannot do a plan and you don't get to talk to me anymore. You have to talk to a funeral director. And there's no payment plan, no pre-plan now. You didn't get it before, and your price is gonna be higher. He said, oh wow. I said, let me give you the funeral home phone number. And he's already at the funeral home, so I'm sure somebody's contacted you. You have to come in for your arrangement setting. And he was like, oh, okay then. So he had to take care of it. He was gonna put it on his credit card. I mean, that's not the best way, but if he had done that, he would have saved. It would have been done. But now, no. But yeah,
Yes.
he's there with you. I said, oh really?
I'm like, does he mean he's working for you? What does he get me? He's passed.
Yes, yes. I tell you, it's just amazing. It's amazing. So I use all of these stories. Like I said, I have a million when I do seminars, and I did two churches in one Saturday a couple weeks ago. Um, I do veteran buildings, senior buildings, churches, uh, social groups. I've talked to some sororities and fraternities. Every place I can get an audience, and people don't know the information. And like we always say, when we know better, we do better. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I know it makes a huge difference in what that family is going to look like. We talk about the front row. The people sitting on the front row at a funeral are the next of kin. And so many families, they say weddings, funerals, and money break up families. And
That's
we
a
got
family.
we got two of them. In my industry, we got two. We got the funeral and the money. And it is just, we have people that want to have two funerals because the family's not getting along. They have two obituaries.
I thought you were going to say two funerals because one is here and one is south. I never even heard of.
Not getting along. They do stuff at the funeral, and during the service, they get up and say crazy things. And I had a lady talk to me, and she said she hadn't spoken to her sister Karen in 20 years, her own sister. I said, oh my goodness, what happened? She said, well, when my mother died and I got to the conference, my sister had this red dress. And she know my mother don't wear red. I brought the blue dress, my mother's favorite dress. And she said, and we got into it in the conference. And she was the beneficiary on the insurance, and she was the oldest. So I let her have it. I said, you plan it and you take care of it. And she said, I left the conference and I didn't go to my mother's funeral. So I don't know if she thought I was going to be in agreement with that. And I just told her, that's very sad. So you probably have nieces and nephews that you have not spoken to or even met. She said, yeah, probably. She was just going to like, cement her stand. And when she told me her mother's name, it just rang a remembrance bell for me. So I went to we have unfunded files and funded files. So I went to our unfunded file and I found her mother's initial meeting with me maybe 6 years ago. I looked at her memorial, we call it a memorial guide, where I document all the wishes. Her mother said she her white usher's uniform with her usher's pin on it.
Mm.
But she didn't follow through with, she just had that one conversation with me. And I just said, how sad. How sad is that they were both wrong, but mother had never had the conversation with them. She wrote it down with me. She never even shared the one document with her that we did do. And now she's gone. She can't put out the feud, and the sisters are separated. Her legacy is broken. Her legacy is
Yes.
broken. So that's one of the example of many that break my heart when I talk to them. So I try to help them on the front side avoid those kind of situations.
This has been a very good, interesting, and knowledgeable conversation. I mean, like I said, guys, I have known her since she's been doing this. And I've seen her talk to a people. I've seen her talk to a few people. Or should I say, I know she's talked to a few people. But I have not considered this. And since becoming a senior, I'm going to consider this. I I really like this show. God gave me this. It's called Seniors Navigating the Change,
Mm,
and it's for seniors, but it's for people who are not seniors, so
absolutely.
they can know what to do and start doing things before they become seniors.
Absolutely.
If
Absolutely.
I had done this in my 40s, I would be thrilled with this payment,
Absolutely.
and it would be a easier burden. It wouldn't even
Mar-
be a burden.
Married people need to pre plan. Single people need to pre plan. Older people should be pre planned. Younger people should pre plan. There's just nobody that shouldn't. And when we sit down and have a conversation, um, so many things come out. I had a couple. They were married. They were in their 70s, but they had only been married about 3 years. They met in their senior building, and they were so much in love. So they came in to sit with me in the office, and they were just so endearing. I was just watching them saying, oh my God, only 3 years. They probably got married when they were like 70, 72. And I did him first. He was a veteran. So he was able to go to the veteran cemetery. That's very important too. A sidebar that veterans do have all their burial paid for by the government, not their funeral, but their burial. So he said, yeah, I want to go to the veteran cemetery and be buried there. He said, I'm not sure what she wants to do. She may want to go to the cemetery with her relatives, but I want to go there. So we she looked at him. She said, baby, I'm going where you go. I want to go where you go. And I said, well, she can. The wife can go as well. They got into this little sweet conversation between the we together and we'll be together forever. And when I tell you, I almost started crying. I said, now if they had not sat with me. First of all, he didn't know he could go to the veteran cemetery for free. And secondly, they would not have known that each of them
She
wanted to
could.
be together or that she could be with him forever. And sure enough, he passed away, and they called me directly, and I connected them with the funeral home. And then a couple years later, not even a year, she just couldn't go on without him, and she passed away
Wow.
too. Yeah, this was, and the daughter was so appreciative that we had that conversation and that they are together. And that was one of my most endearing services that I got to do. So it's super important. Everybody needs to do it, and at least they need to get the free. You sit down with an accountant, Karen. Do you have
Mm-hmm.
to pay them for a conversation? Yes. Doctor, they look in your ear, and you're gonna get a bill.
That's right.
Lawyer, they don't do consultations for free. My
Not free.
consultation is absolutely free, and that's because at Callahan we are so committed to helping our community get this piece right, because it's important and it's going to happen. So you can sit down with me free of charge to at least have a conversation, and what is it going to look like for you and your family, and then we can proceed to the next steps. But at least do the consultation for free. I go to the home, they could come to the funeral home, or we could do it virtually. So I try to accommodate. I do Try not to do Saturdays because I do a lot of seminars, and Sunday is my day of worship. But if the family, like last Sunday, they all worked, they did things. They said, "Could you please come Sunday after church?" I said, "Woo, y'all church goers too?" Yes, we could see each other after church. It was about 3 o'clock, but just a blessing. And they all came in and met with me, and in the process of putting all of those brothers and sisters' plans together.
That's great. That's great. Well, Angela, I am so glad I thought about this. I'm thinking about things that I need to do. And so I'm like, I've got to call her. She would be perfect to talk on this show. So I thank you so much for kind of steering me. I'm going to call you and set up an appointment.
Yes, so yes,
Let me
you and
see.
Charles together. Yes.
Yes. So very, very soon. Very,
Thank
very
you.
soon. I'm going to call you.
It'll be my honor.
Thank you, my friend and my sister, Miss Sunshine. Thank you so much for
Thank
being a
you.
part of Seniors Navigating the Change. Okay. Um, well, I thank you all for joining and being a part. And we're going to be back next week, and we're going to be doing the same thing. That's right, seniors navigating the change. Make sure you have your friends come and join us and listen and find out what's happening, at least with me. And maybe you all can help us out and tell us what to do. And nobody told me what to do with the raccoon that's eating on my tomatoes. We're still trying to stop the raccoon. It's, every now and then seems to get something. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.